Growing up, I always had plenty of books to read. Now, my family and I lived in a modified schoolhouse from a long time ago. So my house had a creaky, creepy feel to it. It used to be two classrooms, one upstairs and one downstairs. The lower floor became the primary classroom after leaks had ruined the upper floor. But renovations made it a house today. Probably why a lot of kids never wanted to come over. Being an only child was, as you can guess, quite boring. Most of you who were only children will know what I mean. I could always go out and get friends, but I wasn't very good at talking. So my parents thought that book would be a good way to kill my time. I was only 6 when they bought me a whole bunch of books from my childhood. They were those cheap paperback kind that you could see the bottom shelf from most bookstores with bright illustrations of kids riding bikes or dragons and having adventures with the queens while finding lost treasures. There were so many, how was it able to finish them all? In our basement, we had a row of wooden cabinets below a countertop against the wall, and one of those cabinets is where I kept a vast collection of books at. I was able to read them all. I was able to read them after school every day, and still they took my 6-year-old mind a while to go through. Nevertheless, I loved it with a passion anyway. Eventually, I lost interest. My parents had gotten me one of those new video game consoles, and of course, the bright screen outweighed boring paper any day. The cabinet just slipped through my mind from then on. I never opened it again. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, months turned to years. After finishing high school, it was time for college. My summer went by quick, and I leave for the university tomorrow. I had just finished packing all my bags, and my parents had just gone to bed. My car was ready for the 8-hour drive tomorrow morning, and so I'd have to go to bed early tonight. I walked down the stairs to my room. After getting a sobby hug from my mother and an awkward one from my father, I carried my backpack down with me, keeping it open as I trotted down. As I shuffled contents about, a bottle of water fell from the side of my bag and rolled down the steps, going down after it. I heard it hit the bottom. I flicked on the lights and saw it against the wall. Walking over, I picked it up, and then I paused for a moment. It had rolled into a wooden cabinet. Curiosity plucked my mind as I simply swung it open. And inside, I couldn't believe what I saw. Dust everywhere, coughing. I waved my hand around to get rid of the thick clouds from the door's motion. After settling, I saw outlines of what it had gathered on. Naturally, I ran my index finger on the dusty surface, leaving a long line of color. Raising an eyebrow, I picked the object up, blowing on it, a small child's book. It had a picture of a young girl making cookies, and above her word says, "A small child's book." It had a picture of a very young girl making cookies, and above her head the words read, "Cindy's Big Bake." Black marker had the name Jason Kellen written, my name. Flipping through the pages, memories gushed back. These were my books I had so long ago. I read through them quickly, seeing how most were only just 20 pages. After a while, I began to read more and more books that I didn't even remember. Of course, there were a lot. There was no way I could read them all. Within an hour, they were almost all gone. Then there was one book on the shelf. Pulling it off, I read the title, Correct Classroom Behavior. My name was on this one, and judging by its yellow pages, this must have been in the cabinet before my family even moved in here. Opening it, I slowly began to read the book. Correct Classroom Behavior, it said behind the corner. No author's name was given. I turned the page again, and I saw a bunch of students running about a classroom. Paper airplanes flew about, spitballs were stuck on the walls, and above the picture the text read, "Children can be very naughty indeed, especially to their teacher, sweet old Miss Sneed." On the other page, it showed a very old woman. She wore thick-brimmed glasses, and her hair was dark gray, cut short, curling atop her head. She had a yellow dress with pink daisies on it, but her expression is what caught me. She seemed scared. Her eyes had immense detail. She looked at me as though she desperately wanted to tell me something horrible, but she was just a picture. Turning the page, I continued on. The next scene showed Miss Sneed sitting at her desk as her children ran about. "Come now, Miss Sneed, don't be shy. Don't make these kids think you'll turn the other eye." Miss Sneed looked at the ground sadly, her bony hands resting on her desk. Her face showed regret and an extreme sense of self-hate as the kid stood on the other side of her desk, sticking out his tongue, making faces at her. This time I read the text first. I'm glad I did. Now, Miss Sneed, take those safety scissors. These kids will learn from cuts and blisters." The picture showed Miss Sneed with an outraged look, scissors in one hand and latching onto a kid's hand with the other. The child screamed and cried as Miss Sneed cut the webbing of his fingers. Her teeth bared in anger as she did so. My mouth opened slightly and blinked. Taking in the page before me, it was a disturbing read. Yes, but it was still just a book. I turned the page again. "Great job, Miss Sneed. You're a teaching prodigy. Now isn't it time you teach them biology?" The picture shows Miss Sneed with the scissors at the ready. The child laying on her desk. She has snipped away all the tendons on his knees, elbows, and the other sides of his mouth. She was now snipping away at his stomach open, showing his intestines to the class. Children in the seats were crying, some covering their mouths, while others just tried to avoid looking. They all looked pale, genuinely scared for their lives now. I gagged slightly at the sight of the child's intestines spilling on the table as that teacher had cut him open, and I hurriedly turned the page. "What a great class! A great class indeed! That class was your last, right, Mrs. Sneed?" it read, as the kids walked out of the schoolhouse. Some had blood on the bottom of their legs, and they all looked extremely pale. Some were hugging each other as they walked, sobbing, trying to breathe by using each other as support. In the doorway, Miss Sneed stood, her face void of emotion as she watched the children leave, her dress splattered with blood. I turned the page again, feeling it was the last one. It wasn't a page. The last part of the book was a photograph, one of a classroom. Chairs, tables were flipped over. The walls had rot on them. Paper decorations were torn and peeling all over the walls. But that isn't what caught me. In the center, a woman with leathery brown skin, dry and cracking on her body. Her hair hung in very few and loose patches on her peeling head. Her lips had dried up, and her blotchy yellow teeth were bared directly at me. Her empty eye sockets carried a never-ending stare, as her eyes had rotted and fallen out a long time ago. She wore a beat-up yellow dress with dried red blood all over it, and a few pink daisies here and there. And around her neck was a rope, which suspended her from the ceiling, and a marker at the bottom. A few words were written. "Thanks, Miss Sneed. Your work is done. We learned a lot. We sure had fun." I closed the book and stood up, turning around slowly. I recognized my basement. I always knew what it was. Of course, it was my basement. But now, I knew what it really was. It was the classroom from the book. Rocking slowly, I took it all in. All the school things were gone, and just a bunch of junk was stored here. But a woman didn't really hang herself down here, right? Lost in thought, I didn't see where I was going. I tripped. My glasses fell off, and I mumbled. Feeling around for them, my hand touched something I felt like glasses. And I stood up, adjusting them. I brought my phone up and looked at the blank screen. These weren't my glasses. What the reflection showed me was a pair of thick-rimmed glasses, cracks in the lenses, and along the rim was the name, Miss Sneed. I want to thank you all for subscribing to me. I gained another new subscriber. Now I have 5. With you guys, I can grow to a bigger channel, and I appreciate the views that you guys give me. I know not all of you listen to this to the end, but if you do listen to the end, I will include your name in the very beginning of my next video. You guys have a wonderful day, and make sure you guys have a spooky night.